All right, we're back for another week. Now, I don't want to belabor this point, but it feels like it comes up every week. We're going to talk again about transgender people and this war, this culture war that's going on against them. So again, this kind of partial or kind of close to me. I'm from Texas, live in Texas. I'm not particularly proud of a lot of the moves we make, but that's where I live. Last year, Texas officials announced a plan. They were going to investigate any families with children that were receiving gender affirming care. So this is this particular story about a family. The mother's name is Susan, and she has a 7-year-old transgendered daughter, Elsa, whose parents asked that she be referred to by a pseudonym for safety reasons. Yeah, so Elsa's parents, they describe her as a child that's wise beyond her years. That's not her real name. Early on in this girl's life, she knew that she was a girl. She guided her own parents through her gender journey. She asked to be referred to as a daughter by her parents. When she was 3, one day she told me, "I'm a girl person." Susan said in an interview with ABC News. It was National Daughters Day. And she said, "Can I be your daughter?" It made her cry. But we're going to skip to the real part that should have made her cry, and of course did when the time came. So as a transgender kid in a conservative region, Susan said Elsa could feel growing tensions concerning people like her. She told her parents to just let them hurt me instead of moving out of state. So that's terrifying. You've got a child that understands the situation so badly, understands how much they're hated, that they tell their parents, just let them hurt me. They didn't want to upset their parents or their own life. And it kind of reveals the damage that this causes trans people all over the place and of all ages, not just this 7-year-old girl. It causes damage to their families, anyone that supports them, and people that haven't even figured out who they are yet, because now they're scared to. The family did move, though. They moved to Washington. They said LGBTQ acceptance in the community has been like day and night between the two states. That's not surprising. I live in Texas, and I see how unwelcoming folks are to LGBTQ members. So in Washington, they actually have non-discrimination laws protecting LGBTQ people, which everyone should have. They have bans on conversion therapy, which everyone should have. Trans-inclusive policies for health insurance, and all kinds of other things where they're out there looking out for their constituents, regardless of how that constituent identifies. Jamie, another parent, asked to go by a pseudonym because they too fear persecution. They moved from Texas to Colorado to protect her gender nonconforming teenager. They said the move took a lot of their life savings, a costly but an important decision families say that they have to make. And it didn't feel like normal teenage stress in Texas, said Jamie in an interview. Knowing that your governor and the top officials in your state literally don't want you to exist. That's a different kind of stress. It felt very genocidal there. So you got a teenager expressing that it feels like their state would rather them just die. Hard for me to argue with, because for one, it's a feeling. I don't get to decide how they feel. 2, I don't identify like them, and I don't know how I'd feel. Very well could feel genocidal to these folks, which is appalling. Of course, appalling. Even adults lost access to gender-affirming care in Florida. So all this stuff about we're protecting the kids and we're not anti-trans, we just don't want you messing with our kids. It's BS. We're taking it away from adults now, not just kids. If an adult can't even receive care, what could possibly be your reason for that? Other than, I'm a bigot. No, we get it. And you are a bigot. Garth Brooks weighed in on the Bud Light conspiracy. I know, you all were waiting for Garth Brooks. After Kid Rock and Ted Nugent and who's that other guy? Travis Tritt? I think it was Travis Tritt. I don't know. I don't listen to country. You know, they all had their say. Bud Light's woke. They're supporting a trans person. Whatever. Garth Brooks stands up for decency. I'm not going to read a lot of this or really any of it. I'm just going to tell you that Garth Brooks, he plans to open up a honky tonk. I still don't know that I know what a honky tonk is supposed to be, but it's going to be called Friends in Low Places Bar and Honky Tonk. And he said he knows this sounds corny, but he wants it to be the Chick-fil-A of honky tonks, which is already not gonna, I don't love it. But he said he wants to be a place you feel safe in and a place where you feel like there are manners and people like one another. He does seem to be ignoring the fact that Chick-fil-A has its own controversies, its own little bag of garbage, if you will. At the very least, Garth has taken a stance as saying that he doesn't want people hated. He says, our thing is, if you're let into this house, love one another. If you're an a-hole, there are plenty of other places to go. I do agree, Garth, there are other places to go. I also think his verbiage is very wishy-washy. He took the most trans-friendly stance I think you can take and still not be hated by everyone who listens to country music. So I guess I get it. So Bill Barr, William Barr, whatever you want to call him, ex-Attorney General, ex-Republican Attorney General, ex-Republican Attorney General hired by Donald Trump, or ex-Attorney General hired by Donald Trump, who used most of his time to help make it look like Trump didn't do anything wrong, when he has made it very clear since Trump did plenty wrong. He has come out with a pretty firm stance on this. Like, he's, despite his willingness to get in line and try to help Trump through anything, he has come out with a pretty stern stance against Trump. And he says that if this thing's proven, this classified documents case, these 7 indictments that Trump got handed down, if he gets convicted, he's toast. Now, I'm a bit surprised by that, because I've thought Trump was toast 17 times at least. He's never toast, unfortunately. But he was shocked by the degree of sensitivity of these documents and how many there were. I think the counts under the Espionage Act that he willfully retained these documents are solid counts, said Barr. So he doesn't even think this is political persecution like so many on the right are saying. Bill Barr, who again is on the right, he thinks these are absolutely sound charges. And he said if even half of it's true, he's toast. I can only hope. Of course, Trump responded. He always responds, doesn't he? He gave him some comments on Truth Central. And if you don't know why I called it that, it's because Trump doesn't seem to know the name of his own service. Because he called it Truth Central. Truth Central. I'm going with Truth Central. It apparently is a valid name for it. Trump also said that he would turn off Fox News anytime that gutless pig is on. And I think the first time I heard gutless pig was in Back to the Future. I can't remember that for sure. If you can remember, comment on that. God, where is it Back to the Future? I feel like I hear Biff Tannen in my head saying, gutless pig. Maybe not. So there are actually 37 counts against Trump, and 31 of them relate to secret and top secret classified documents that he kept after leaving the White House. His lawyers have said that they were basically mementos of his time there. He came out with souvenirs, but his souvenirs weren't like a picture of he and the First Lady in the Oval Office, or even love letters with Kim Jong-un, although those were he did have those as souvenirs. They sent love letters, but that wasn't the extent of it. He needed nuclear secrets. He needed all kinds of secrets as souvenirs to say what? This was my job. Here I can prove it. Here's my souvenirs. I don't find it terribly easy to understand this at all. It seems really odd to me. I'm only bringing this up to say that I don't have to hate everything Greg Abbott does, even though I think he's a rolling pile of garbage. And according to polling last year, the majority of people support student athletes being able to profit off their name and likeness. I think it's crazy if anybody doesn't think that. I could sell you my signature right now and no one can stop me, nor should they be able to. It doesn't matter that you don't want to buy my signature. That's not the point. The point is, I should be allowed to sell it because it's mine. But Greg Abbott just signed an NIL deal. The NIL name and likeness is and obviously, this is so that Texas is Texas A&M and, your other schools, Texas Tech, Baylor, schools all across the state, TCU, they were just in the national championship, although they definitely fluked their way there. This is so that they can actually compete, because if these other big schools are going to be able to let these students make money, they better be able to make money in Texas too, or you're in trouble. That's it. Other than that, Greg Abbott's still trash. He's trash. Every other bill he signs is garbage. So a little bit of right-wing news. I found this. Now that I'm gonna have to read it because I don't know any other way to get through this. I can't present this as if it was me because it's just too stupid. Now that my favorite president, Donald Trump, is facing 37 count indictment from the feds, I join my brothers and sisters in MAGA and with all sensible Republicans in saying this. I'm not sure I want to live in a country where a former president can wave around classified documents he's not supposed to have and say, this is secret information, look at this, and then be held accountable for his actions. I mean, what kind of country have we become? One in which federal prosecutors can take evidence before a grand jury, and that grand jury can vote to indict a former president for 37 alleged crimes? Look at all the other people out there in America, including Democrats like Hillary Clinton, President Joe Biden, who haven't been indicted for crimes on the flimsy excuse that there's no evidence they did crimes. That's totally unfair. It's like Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin wrote in a tweet Friday. These charges are unprecedented, and it's a sad day for our country, especially in light of what clearly appears to be a two-tiered justice system where some are selectively prosecuted and others are not. Or, as Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee tweeted, where are the investigations against the Clintons and the Bidens? What about fairness? Two tiers of justice at work. Two tiers. One tier in which President Trump keeps getting indicted via both state and federal justice systems, and another in which the people I don't like keep getting not indicted via all the things Fox News tells me they did wrong. It's like America has become a banana republic. As long as you do as I've done and refuse to look up the definition of banana republic. Yeah, true. Regardless of the Trump indictment, it's clear this is all Biden's fault. It goes on and on and on. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I love the sentiment there. They've captured it perfectly. The outcry, the anger over these indictments is crazy. Every legal means that they went through, all legal means. It's crazy. They only went through legal means. They brought real evidence in front of a real grand jury. That real grand jury saw real crimes, and they voted to indict on those very real crimes. It seems okay to me. It seems like exactly what we would want them to do. This is a witch hunt, and I believe so because Trump said so. That makes sense. So I want you to imagine this for a moment. You've got your family, maybe a couple young kids in the car. They've been excited. They've been waiting to go on a vacation. And you're going to pull up to Disney World, which is exciting even for the grown-ups, but especially for the kids. And outside of Disney World, as you're pulling up, I forget what that road's called. I've only been there a couple times, but it's super, I forget what the road's called, but it's super recognizable. You know where you're at. Well, luckily, some other people were able to find it too. So there were protesters gathered outside of Walt Disney World with Nazi flags and signs in support of Ron DeSantis. So they're just open about it. They don't like Disney because Disney's woke. He doesn't like Disney because Disney's woke. Disney doesn't like him because he hates some of their fans just for being them. And now we just have full-on Nazis out there. I suppose, number one, I suppose we can't be that surprised because what he's doing is very dictator-like and authoritative-like. And yet, I'm definitely surprised because it's appalling. For a moment, just imagine that you are so partisan that you think we might be going after Trump just to cover up what Hunter Biden did. So I did vote for Joe Biden, not because I like Joe Biden. I actually don't. I voted for him because I am ostensibly a Democrat. I am much more accurately labeled progressive. Donald Trump is an absolute disaster, both as a businessman and as a president or politician. So his people, Donald Trump's supporters, they relentlessly support him. And it doesn't matter what he's done, what he's said, how he acts. None of it matters. He sat down with Roger Stone for an interview. This is super dangerous. It should remind you of January 6th. And as long as you keep January 6th in your mind, I think we're ready to talk about this, but keep January 6th in mind. He says, our country has to protest. I already don't like it. Stone, he's saying his praises, Trump's praises. And Trump says, this thing's a disgrace. This is a disgraceful indictment. It shouldn't happen. It was done for political reasons. And then when asked what those political reasons were, Trump says the timing of this indictment was to cover up a massive crime perpetuated by Hunter Biden. Now, I'm just telling you, as far as fish are concerned, if you're a prosecutor and you want to bag yourself a big fish, getting the son of a politician is not exactly the same as bringing down a former president. It's just not. So Trump said they wanted to do a distraction. They'll probably come up with jaywalking charge on Hunter in the future, a very small charge, so they can say it was fair. I don't think they have to be juxtaposed at all. You commit a crime, you face consequences. If Biden did what Trump did, I would want him prosecuted fully. I said Biden, I meant Joe, although I want anybody prosecuted for any crimes. So Trump, of course, complained about the last presidential election, which he definitely lost. He lost bigly. If you look at the disaster of the 2020 election with all the things that have been found that the courts don't want to work on, they don't want to discuss, Trump said, before adding, we'll make America great again. When the conversation turned to the indictment, Trump again tried to distract by blaming Hunter Biden. The indictment itself is a disgrace, he said. I do believe it was put up at a time that they found horrible things about the Biden family. Okay. The problem is nobody wants to write about it. Yeah, that's the problem. He attacked Jack Smith, which of course, fine. He called him deranged. His wife hates me more than he does. His wife hates Trump more than any human being that's ever lived. I've never met his wife, but I'd love to challenge her on that. I'm sure by now you guys have realized that all these indictments, these charges against Trump, they're just to divert attention from Hunter. Obviously, having the son of a president is a much bigger fish than a former president. You guys are idiots. Trump didn't do anything wrong.